All right, this tutorial will be to use Fusion 360 to make a Funko Pop style picture. Now, Fusion 360 is not the best software to do this. If you're actually doing a Funko Pop for the purpose of making like those type of dolls, you probably want to use a software like Blender or Rhino. There's other better software that makes more human looking objects. But since we use Fusion 360 for all our design purposes, learning how to make something similar like that in Fusion 360 could be useful. All right, so if we look at this example of the Funko Pop we have here, is some features in here make sense that we've seen before. If we look at this, the beard, this is a 2D image that's been extruded into 3D. We've done examples like this before when we did our bridge. We have this part of here is a revolve tool, but we have a lot of surfaces that we haven't seen before. If I hide the hair, all right, we'll see this over here. This is not a regular looking square. It's like a soft, like if you imagine if a square was like the shape of a pillow. And we cannot make this with our default extrusion tool. So we're going to be using a new tool to make curved surfaces in Fusion 360. We're going to be using the create form function. So I've just started a new document over here, and I'm going to unhide the origin just so we can see where that is, the center. Up over here, if you see in Fusion, we're in the design space. Again, we have solid. We also have other options up here. We have surface, mesh, sheet metal, plastic, utilities, because Fusion is the CAD software that Autodesk uses to combine all different types of drawing and computer-aided design. There's one case that's dedicated to just surfaces, and that also has a create a form function. We don't want to use that one for our purposes because what we're going to be using our design for, we want to keep everything in a solid form, which is going to be easier because we do like calculations and we connect objects and you're used to dealing with a solid object. So even though this same icon over here, create form and create solid, they have the same icon here. We want to make sure when we press it, we have our blue selector icon on solid. So over here we can press create form. And what this does is it allows us to, if our extrusions before were like objects that we were drawing and doing it very mathematical, this one is more like you're dealing with Play-Doh or putty. You get a shape, you can push and pull parts of it out, and it'll try to make it nice and smooth. So we'll go create form over here. And over here we have some basic options. We have the box. Now notice here in that image of the box, it's not a box with sharp corners. It tries to, again, make it like a balloon is making this type of box. We can make flat shapes. We can also make cylinders and quad balls, which I believe are just like spheres. But it's a sphere divided up into sections. If you're in the image over here, we see there's quadrangles or shapes on the surface of this object. We can select these and pull and push to change these shapes. So we're going to press box and we can choose which shape we want. We say, oh, we want to start our box from the center. And then our direction, well, we can do that later. But for the sake of our face, I want to press direction and I want to press symmetrical. So now we're going to start to make a box from a point. And then we're going to make, that's going to be the center of our box, and then we're going to make the box around it. So I'm going to pick the origin. I'm going to pick the origin for later. It's going to be simpler when I want to make it symmetric. I can use that plane that's in the middle of our object, so as our plane of symmetry. I'm going to press my mouse over the center point. This is why we had to unhide our origin, otherwise you wouldn't find the center point. We're going to press this as our point location. I think, so you got to press it once. Once you got to press it to get the plane, and then you got to press it a second time to choose the location. And now we can pick the diameter, the size. I'm just going to pick sizes like 100. Does that work? Ooh. 100 by 100. I guess with my angle it didn't look nice, but if you press these arrows, you're pulling out the object. So you can also look over here on my tab over here. My length of my box is 100, width is 100, height is 100. There's also this option for faces. See here we've got two faces over here, which means that there's two faces on this side of the object. I can bump this up to a number like 20, right, and that gives me more options for more things I can do with that shape. I can pull out all these small individual objects. One thing for my particular Funko Pop style of drawing is it makes my edges very sharp because it does the curve in like the last shape, so the last face. So for our particular case, I'm just going to do everything as 2 because that gives us the nice shape that we want for our Funko Pop vinyl. And then we press OK. Now, to get back to the design space where we can deal with objects, because right now we're in the forms, we're going to have to press Finish Form. So what this does, if we press Finish Form, this is now a solid object inside Fusion 360. I can't actually, the surfaces inside have disappeared now. I can't modify those anymore. Let me show what we could do if we wanted to change it for, like, if we want to do our lamps in the future. Let me just hide this original body So we have this particular shape over here. What the form allows us to do is we can select an individual surface here, and I believe we can edit form. I think we can select this surface over here. We can move individual surfaces in the form to be, you know, big brain time. We can change, we can move stuff around, and it gives us like a desired shape that we want. Useful if we want to make an object that looks very nice. For the purposes of like our lamps that we're going to be using this for next year, laser cutting this won't work, but if you want to 3D print an object, this works quite well because we can turn this into an object that can be 3D printed. This type of editing, you can't really do this type of editing with the non-form tool of Fusion, but you can get any particular shape that you want and you can modify that. I don't want this for my particular shape, so I'm just going to get rid of them and go back to the form I have here. All right, so this is the foundation. This is the skull I want of my person. Now we need to get those eyes that the Funko Pops have. So I'm going to go and make another form. I'm going to use the box function again. Box. I'm going to press this plane over here, and the location I want, I'm going to press front. I'm going to pick where one of my eyes, I want one of my eyes to be, I'm sorry, just trying to visualize it. I think I want one of my eyes to be here, that's the center, and then I want my eye to be this big. So right now this eye is clearly, it's a soft cube, right? It's not exactly the shape I wanted, but, and I found this out on my second iteration, I can make this into like a cylinder, which will look good for our Funko Pop example here. What I'm going to do is, if you change the length and the width to 1, now this might be different depending on the orientation you picked, but out of this, if you make 2 of those 1 and the other one 2 or more, right, it's going to make a cylinder looking shape, right? So this is a cylinder, it's almost like a Frankfurt or something like that. It's going to make that looking shape, where this will be what we want to get the eye of our design. I'm going to press Finish Form again. So now this form is inside our other body, but we can click this body over here. We can move this body, and now as we move it, in this direction, the eye should come out. There you go. So now you have this eyes popped out. This is the one of the eyes in our Funko Pop. You can also use this same feature if you're designing like a button, or if you're making like a fancy toaster. I had a student make a bunch of Smeg toasters once, and they have like, their buttons are they look like soft cylinders. You can use this same feature to do that on there. So now we have this eye over here. We have to make this symmetric. So we're going to go to the create. We're going to go to the mirror function. We're going to select this body over here to mirror. Because we started our object in the middle of the origin, we can press this plane over here, and that's going to give us a second eye. Congratulations, our Funko Pop now has 2 eyes. Great. Next, we will make what do I want to make next? We'll do the beard next. For the beard, I'm going to make this, I'm not going to make the beard in form. I'm going to make the beard in the solid. So I'm going to press create sketch. I'm going to press this plane over here. And for this particular one, I am just going to freeform what I think the beard will look like. So first I'm going to draw a line over here so I can make my object symmetric. Something like that. I'm then going to go to create. I'm going to make an ellipse, and the ellipse is going to be where the mouth will be, so the part where the beard is not covering. And we'll go out to about, I'm just making up these numbers, so something like that. We got that circle there. And then I'm going to use the spline tool to pick a number of points that I think will make sense for the beard. Okay, and then if I press enter, so now what the spline tool, that's probably a new tool, so we'll go over that. The spline tool is basically a mathematical formula. You know quadrilaterals, or do you know parabolas? You've done parabolas in class? So parabolas is like one line, and you can find particular points on the parabola. And what power is a parabola to? Square. What number is that? 2, right? Parabola is 2. If you can get other lines that are more complex, that are like to the power of 3, like x to the power of 3, x to the power of 4. These are more complicated lines. What a spline does is you can put in any number of points, and it will find a mathematical formula that will have that line follow that number of points. So it means that we can use those things later. We can also, because it is a mathematical formula, we can also change at any particular point what angle that particular point is at. It's just adjusting the formula. That's what these green lines are. So these green lines down the bottom, right? So the black dot is where we need the line to cross. The green line is, see how if I hover over it, see how that's a physical line you see right there? That line means as the curve is crossing that point, this line represents like the tangent of that line. This is showing where that line is perpendicular. We can do 2 things. We can either make it so the angle changes. See if I change it this direction, how it's changing the shape of that curve. And we can also change how sharp the curve is by pulling the green line away. If I pull the green line further away, it forces that curve to be very flat where it's crossing. If I bring the green line very close, it allows it to be very sharp on that curve. So what this means, you don't need to understand how the formula works. All you need to know is, if you don't like the way that the curve looks, you have 2 things. You can either change where the black dot is. So this particular dot over here, say if I don't like this, I can move this particular dot to change its location. Or you can change the angle that the line crosses that dot by moving the green ones. Let's say I want that. That's what I want. Okay. I'm going to press finish sketch now. So now this is a completed sketch. I can press the extrude, press this shape over here, and I'm going to extrude it out the front of my object. Now the problem is, we've done this before in Fusion, when you try to extrude one shape through another shape, you're going to have issues where it's going to want to cut. So we want to make this a new body instead. Also, I'm 50 mils. I think I want to do it one more. 60. Yeah, we'll do 60. That looks good. And then we'll press OK. So now this will be half of my beard. Now I actually want to try something a bit more interesting with this particular shape. All right, when I did my last one, I had this beard sticking out. It looks fine on the front view, but on the side view, it looks a bit weird. It's not my best shave right there. So I want to find a way where I can actually have it follow the contour of my object. There's two ways we can do it. I'm going to do it one way and then I'm going to reverse it and I'm going to show you the other way to do it. So try to follow along with that. The first one we're going to do is we're just going to cut the whole profile of the beard to a particular shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press create a sketch, looking at from the profile view over here. I want to make it follow the contour of this shape over here. So this over here is like a soft body. I can't really use this yet, but if I go to create and I say project and include, the project and include button means I see some shapes in here. I want to use those shapes for my drawing. So please follow them like a ruler. The shapes I want to follow is this surface I want to follow, and I want to follow this surface. And press OK. Now if you press OK here, these shapes actually exist now. If I hide this body, oh, it doesn't show them all. Okay, we'll fix that again. Include 3D geometry. Include 3D geometry. What if I do that? Will that work? File. Yeah, why is it not working, that whole thing? Maybe body. Maybe if I press this whole body. If I press body, and then I hide the body. Yes, so if I project the body, so now I've got this curve here. I can make this curve, I can use this curve in my drawing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to press offset. I'm going to offset this particular line. Let's say I want my beard to be 5 mil. Just a 5mm beard, and press OK. So now I've got a line that I can use. I can press finish sketch. I'm going to use the extrude function again. So let's look in 3D. So if I now extrude this shape over here, it's going to cut that part of the beard off. Now that's not ideal. So what I'm going to do instead is, I want to hide the eyes so I don't destroy my eyes. Instead of using the cut function, I want to use the intersect function. Do we know what intersect means in like general terms? Yeah, it's where two parts are overlapping, like the Venn diagrams, you know. So what it's saying is this particular body, find the parts where they both overlap. If I do that, I've already got this curved part of the beard now. When you're using the intersect function, you've got to be careful that you're not cutting out other objects you want. So as you're using it, you might have to hide some other bodies. And then if we press OK, now if I unhide the rest of my thing, my beard is, it's somewhat fine. It looks fine in this direction. It somewhat looks fine in this direction, but there's clearly some room for improvements. It's not following like the body over there on that part. But if you have a simple enough shape, you can use that. So let me undo that and show another way we can do this. So I believe another way we can do this, and bear with me because I haven't done this option either. I have my beard, I have this body. This is like a 3D surface. So actually what I want to do is I want to offset like in a 3D sense. So I believe I can go to modify. I can say offset face. I should be able to press this button over here and I should be able to have a face offset. But let me select more. Let me select more surfaces. We've got this one and So I'm going to select the 3 surfaces that I know it intersects. And let's say I offset it at 5 mil. Let's see if this works. I press OK. So now I should have... oh, that didn't work. Oh, it ruined the original one. Okay, so what I'm going to have to do first is copy it. Select this body. I just want to make a copy. I've got a copy of this body now. I'm going to hide my original face, hide my original eyes. I don't want them to interrupt. Let's go and offset face. Press the faces I want to offset. These faces over here, and I want this to be 5 mil offset. I'll press OK. So now I have the faces larger by 5 mil. What I'm going to use this offset, the larger face. I'm going to use this to cut, just like I'm going to use like the intersect tool basically with this offset face that I just made. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go modify. I'm going to press the combine button. I'm going to select, I want to combine this body and this body, and instead of combine, I want to use the intersect function, and that should give me just this curved part of the face down here. I've got this curved part of the beard, and if I unhide everything, so now, if we look in this corner, this beard like follows the body a bit better. All right. What are we doing for time? All right. So now we're going to mirror this just like we did with the eyes. And then we're going to smooth it out. I'll show you how to smooth it out. So we're going to create, mirror, this object over here we want to mirror. We want to mirror it over here. Okay. So now we have both parts of the beard. And we want to round it out as well, so it's nice and smooth. To do that, we're going to use the filleting tool. Press the filleting tool. We want to press the surfaces we want to fillet, which I believe I can hide everything I don't need. We want to fillet this surface, and we want to fillet these surfaces. And we want it to be, does 5 mil work? What about 1 mil? 2 mil? 1.5? We can do that, okay. If I fill it by 1.5, we get a slightly smoother edge over here. Nice, okay. So now the last feature, I'm not gonna, we'll worry about the hair at another point because, actually I can do the hair quickly I think. Let's give this character a bit of a bowl cut. We are going to make a bowl cut, and we could refine this if we wanted to later, but let's just do it nice and quick. Right, so what we're going to use is we're going to use the revolve tool. This is going to be the profile of the hair. We're going to spin this around 360 degrees and see how that looks. If we press the revolve button, we've already got that shape there. The axis we want to revolve it by, we can pick a straight line on our object to revolve it, or we can press like the actual axis is in our origin. Again, we want to make a new body with this. Now, it's not the best drawing I've seen. In fact, if I press OK, we'll see here that we have some issues. It doesn't actually cover the edge of the body of here. So what we're going to do, we can actually edit this sketch. Edit sketch. We'll make it slightly larger. And we can change this to be flat. Cool, so now we got that, the circle part. And now the last part we need to do is the ponytail, and then we can start putting on colors and appearance stuff. So the ponytail, I'm going to go to profile. I want to draw the curved line of what I want my ponytail to look like. Now, this ponytail feature, again, can be used for your lamps if you want to have custom curves. It's kind of a good feature to use. We're just going to pick a line that we want the ponytail to follow. If you imagine like the central line of the ponytail. And I'm going over the top with how big this ponytail is. And then we'll press enter. Again, because this is a spline, we could adjust it later. So if you look at my ponytail over here on this diagram, we'll see how it's going big and small, right? So I want to have a way that I can make my shape look like it's a big and small shape. So it's not one solid, like it doesn't look like one big piece of toothpaste, basically. So to do this, I'm going to need a series of large and small circles along this line. So there's the features, how we're going to do this is we first need to set it up. We have to set up two planes that we can draw these circles on, and then we're going to copy them. So I'm going to press the construct button, and we want to do plane along a path. Now if I press the plane along a path, and if I press this path, I can click this, and now I can drag this along. As I drag this along, you can see on the projector the orange line right there. Yeah, that's basically the 3D version. That's a 2D version of this plane over here. The first ponytail, I want to start it in here, and I can press OK. And I want to construct another one that is like slightly off from it. Now, I'm just guessing these values. This is a big visual thing. It doesn't matter for accuracy, but if you have a specific design, you can measure these offsets yourself. It's proportional by the distance of the line. This is in percentage, where 1 is 100. Press OK. Now I'm going to hide the rest of the bodies just to make this expression easier. And I might hide the origin as well. You don't need that. Okay. This first circle over here, we're going to do on that shape, we're going to make a in our first example, am I in the wrong one? Okay, hold on. Shape, this one. And where is my line at? I want to press where that circle starts. And my large one, I want it to be 30. Enter, finish. And my small circle, I'm going to press the other line now. I want my small circle to be 25. Okay, so what I've done here, I do not like that. Right. Okay, so now if I finish this, we have two circles. I'm going to copy these along my curve now, and then we can use those. So we're going to use the Create tool. Creates. We're going to use Pattern. We're going to use the pattern along a path. We can press this particular, first we've got to turn these into 3D objects. So we're just going to extrude each one of these by 1 millimeter. Extrude, and we're going to extrude this. Extrude this by 1 millimeter. Now we're going to do the tool. We're going to say Create, Pattern along a path. If we select this body over here, We can select the path we want it to follow. And if we drag this arrow, we see here the object is following the paths. Now we want more of these. We want about 5. We want about 5 of these. Now we have an issue. See here how it hasn't changed the angle? It's just copied the disk. So what we can do over here under orientation, instead of identical, we can switch this to following the path. And if we do this, the cylinders are like following. See how the cylinders are following the relative shape of the path? We can press OK. And we can do the same thing with the other case. We can go to pattern, pattern a path. We can press this. The body we want is this one. 5. We can do like this, and then we can press OK. So now we have a bunch of these discs. You can imagine these are like hair bands going along the shape. They're going to change the diameter. We're going to use our last tool to make our objects, and then we can start coloring this in. We're going to be using the the Loft function. The Loft function gets a selection of profiles and turns it into a 3D object. So we press Loft, and now all we have to do is if we select all of our faces, and our faces in this case are the hold on, that's not what we want. Create Loft. Oh yes, we just got to press our faces, and then if we press all our faces along our shape, it's kind of joining. And can I close it at the end? Does that work? No. Okay. Close goes back to the original. No, we don't want that. No. And then I could have done a small one at the end, but let's just cut the hair off by that. Press OK. So now we have this. Uh-oh. What happened? I thought we were good. Let's try again. Loft. Oh, okay, cool. Very cool. All right. All right, we have our general features of this face here. We've got the hair, the ponytail, the beard, the eyes. Now let's get some appearances in so we can make some sort of 3D image. Fusion lets us, if we right-click any of these bodies, we can rename these as well in our tree when we start getting complicated bodies. Instead of this, we can call this the face. Face. I can right-click this. I can go to Appearance, and that should load up the menu where we can put some stuff on. So Appearance, we have, if you want to make this a particular looking object like a, please unselect. Sorry. We can put stuff like fabrics if you want to make it look a particular color like that. The one I had before, I made it look like that video game on PlayStation, Little Big Planet. Or you can go to plastics, where if you want to get some colors that kind of make sense, like Peak is a nice brownish color, if you want that. For eyes, oh, we can just go, ooh. We can get that in here. But let's say you also want to get a specific color. So you can do that. You can put in a custom color in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to miscellaneous, no, not miscellaneous, miscellaneous base material. And our base material we want an opaque material. So we can drag this opaque material up into here. We can right click this. We want to duplicate to make a copy of it. And if we edit this one over here, we can actually give any color we want. So if I want something that's like a dark brown, it's probably something like that. So now I have this color. I can drag now this color over here and I can get that custom. Cool, I can get those colors in there. And now this is ready to get into a nice little 3D object. I'm going to save this. And then I can, waiting for time, oh, fast. Well, I'll show you in the next lesson how we can render this into a 3D object.